All right, hi, fourth graders. All right, today is Tuesday, the 23rd, and just some things that are going on up here at the top, just reminders. We had our tutorials today for math, so we did a little bit of reviewing before our test that we have tomorrow. And you can find, so after we reviewed, we did some practice with multiplication. So if you still want to work on the multiplication part, if you turn that in, I'll check that for you if you missed today. And then let's see here. So today was another review day of lines, angles, and polygons. So you have the review. There's recordings on the Seesaw. So if you go over here to activities and you go to week 25. This was for Monday and Tuesday to review, so make sure you, I'm not going to go over it right now because I've already recorded, so you just need to listen to the recordings and go over that. And then we also, whoops, we also went, there's some practice problems in this module 13 that you can go over. And then we spent the rest of the time on the CFA 4.6D. You're going to complete this in Aware after you review the lessons. And then we also just went over one more time, just a couple things. So just remember, whenever you have a shape, so let's say I've got a shape here. This shape is a four-sided figure. So you have 1, 2, those are congruent, they're the same. 3, 4, those are or no, I'm sorry, hold on, let me move the right thing. These I'm actually going to put the parallels. They're not the same. Those are parallel. So we talked about a couple things. So we talked about the angles. So this one is a it has 4 angles because it has 4 sides. So we talked about how you can take you can grab a piece of paper, just get out of your notebook or something, and you can take that paper, and in the corner of the page, that's a 90-degree angle. So if you were to hold it up to the corner where the vertex is, you would be able to see what type of angle it is. So remember, your acute, so here's, let's say this is your bottom ray. Your acute angles are all of the small, greater than 0 but less than 90, so all the way to 89 degree angles. So when you hold up that piece of paper and you put, like, let's say you line this up, and here's your piece of paper in that corner there, notice how this top ray right here is this one right here. This is covered up by the piece of paper. So if it's covered, then that means that angle is acute. Okay, same thing with over here. This is an acute angle. So you can take pieces of paper. So we were practicing that, just holding it up to different shapes to tell what kind of angles we have. And then if you're, whenever you do it, let's say you've got an obtuse angle, and you put your piece of paper in this corner here, notice the obtuse angle, that ray goes on the outside. And then if it was a 90-degree angle, like this, and you put a piece of paper, it would match up perfectly. So acute, obtuse, and right. So make sure you have, I like using a notebook card just because it's um, real easy to move, and small enough to where it's easy to kind of manipulate. So find something, a post-it note, note card, piece of paper, something where you can help yourself check those angles. Then again, we reviewed perpendicular and parallel. Remember, parallel has those L's that show you what it is. So for perpendicular, if you have a shape that has a right angle, then that means you've got perpendicular lines. So if this is A, B, C, D, we could say that right here, AC is perpendicular to CD. Then parallel, if you have a shape and let's call this A, B, C, and D. That is a crazy B. There we go. That's a little better. You can look for those opposite sides. So remember, we want two lines or line segments here that are opposite. So if I'm talking about AB, the line that's opposite of AB is CD. So this one is opposite. And those lines are parallel because they are the same distance apart from each other and they are never going to touch. Okay, notice these here, you have them, they're touching, so they're intersecting, but the way that they intersect is at that 90-degree angle. Okay, so that 90-degree angle makes that perpendicular. You can have lines that cross like this. So these lines are intersecting, but they're not perpendicular because when you look at the angles, you've got two acute and two obtuse. And so those are intersecting. They're not perpendicular because there's no right angles. So those make that X or that V shape versus this one making that L shape right here. Let's see. All right, the other thing, so with the, what's it called? CF 4.6D, make sure there's a section in there real quick. There's a section in there real quick. Let me put on here where it has A, B, and C. So there's an A, there's an a B, and a C. So on C, you are naming what type of shape it is. So is it a square? Is it a rectangle? Is it a parallelogram? Is it quadrilateral? What kind of name can you give the shape? So think about all of the ones we've been talking about. B wants you to put line segments that I believe the question says that are parallel. So you're going to put blank is parallel to blank, or you could write it out and you could actually put, I'm not going to put the right letters, so you could say XY is parallel to BT. I don't know. I'm just making something up. So write out if you can't use the symbols, write it out. And then A is asking for two acute angles. So just put the two angles that are acute. So angle Y and angle T. Okay, that's not them, but label it like this is one angle, this is another. When you do the line segment, a line segment has two letters. So like if you have this shape right here, and this is X, Y, B, T, that means that this whole line segment right here, XY, is parallel to this whole line segment right here, BT. So you need two letters and two letters. Okay. All right, so that was math. And then let me go here. So for reading today, we spent some extra time. We kind of flip-flopped a little bit because today in reading it was just finishing up what we had with the Buzz Aldrin autobiography thing that we were doing on Seesaw. Excuse me. So we did a little switch and we did some extra practice with writing. So right here, excuse me. Come on, thing. There it goes. All right. So we did, excuse me, goodness gracious. All right, so we did the section here on Tuesday, and this is, I told the kids because they've got their benchmark coming up. This is what it's going to look like on their benchmark. Sorry, someone's pulling into my house, so my dogs might start going crazy, so I'm going to go ahead and apologize for their nonsense. All right, so there's a passage. Now, this one's really tiny because it's just a practice. It's supposed to be just quick. The ones that are going to be on the benchmark will be, a page or two. And so you have this passage, this paper that someone's written, and your job is to go make the edits and go do the revising. So we did one, two, three, four, and five together. So number one was a homophone, maid to maid. So this is, and remember, you can use your dictionary. So if you have a word and both of them say the same thing, like maid and maid, go use your dictionary. Look it up. If you can't remember which one is which, this whole story is about this kid in his messy room. So when they say maid, he's talking about like a maid that he doesn't have a maid, and that's why it's messy. And so we said that the second one was the correct one. And so use that dictionary. And if you don't have one, dictionary.com, you can use online. And then number two, it says which sentence from the selection should be deleted. So we had four different options. So we went and found sentence four, sentence five, sentence seven, and sentence eight. And we read those. And whenever you're deleting a sentence, you do. And I'm sorry, I'm over here still choking. Apologize. Whenever you delete a sentence, the reason is because it's random. It doesn't flow with the central idea of what the paper is about. It doesn't. It when you read it, it just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Like it doesn't really go with. Like it may be on topic, but not necessarily like this one is talking about, so it says, sure, my room isn't as clean as it might be. I don't have a maid, of course. Still, I think my mom might be exaggerating when she pretends to choke and gag every time she enters the room. If my socks were in the hamper in the bathroom, wouldn't that just make the bathroom smell bad? I'll adjourn that leaving the chocolate milk on the trophy shelf through the summer wasn't a great idea. Maybe my old tennis shoes are a bit musty. My brother is only 3. Aren't kids' rooms supposed to have a little character? So he starts talking about kids' rooms. He's talking about his shoes. Like, yeah, you know what? They're right. They are a little bit musty. But this part right here where it says, my brother is only 3, like, that doesn't have anything to do with his bedroom. We're not talking about his brother. We're not asking how old his brother is. So it doesn't fit with what the main idea is. So that's why we decided that it needed to be taken out. It's just kind of thrown in there randomly. All right, so if it doesn't fit the central idea, take it out. All right. Sentence 3 we said is correct. So when we read it, it says still, comma, I think my mom might be exaggerating when she pretends to choke and gag every time she enters the room. So we said that that comma was good because we paused after the still, and then it was a complete thought. It had a subject, predicate, everything was good, and these, when we read the other options, like this one on C, it had the comma and the fanboy. But when we looked at what came in the beginning and we looked at what came at the end, they weren't complete sentences. So if you don't have a complete sentence at the beginning and at the end, then you don't need the comma and the fanboy. Then there was just like weird commas in weird places that didn't need pausing, or like here, starting, they kind of took the sentence and made it into two. So none of those really fit. And so we took those out. And then in the next one on number 4, it says the word adjourned is not the right word for sentence 5. So we needed to put a better word to express what the author is saying. So we went to sentence 5. It says, so he's saying about leaving the chocolate milk, like, yeah, that probably wasn't the greatest idea. So we said the word admit would be a better fit. So we took out that word and we tried it and we said, I'll admit that leaving the chocolate milk on the trophy shelf through the summer wasn't a great idea. So that there made a lot more sense than any of the other ones, because he's admitting that, yes, that was a bad idea. And then on number 5, how should sentence 8 be changed? So if you go look at sentence 8, it says, aren't kids' rooms supposed to have a little character? So here we notice that when it says kids' room, remember you put the apostrophe S because you're describing that the room belongs to the kids. It's showing that ownership. So that apostrophe is there to show that that belongs to the kids. But we decided that they were talking about multiple kids. So when you have multiple kids, you need to put kids as plural, and then the apostrophe goes on the outside. So if it's just like the kids' room, like you're just talking about one kid, then it would be apostrophe S. But if you're talking about more than one kid, like he's talking about all kids, we put the S to show that we're talking about all, or more than one. So make that plural, and apostrophe goes on the outside. Then we went here and we took some notes in our notebook, and I'll have to post those later because I left them at school because I had to run out the building today to go change a tire. So I apologize, but we did take some notes for science and writing, and I was a goof and left them at home, or left them at school. So um, what we did was we just talked about, and it's all on here. So I mean, you don't really need the what I did, but it's because it's already on here. We just kind of copied the same thing as a blank slate, and we really just talked about the importance of planning. So whenever you have a writing that you're doing, we just talked about, what's the purpose of this circle map? Like, how does it help us organize our ideas? So we just went over that and talked about the importance of that. And then we talked about how, let me move me on this page 5, talking about just each of the different parts. So we reviewed what is in an introduction. And so we took this box, this kind of organizer, put it in our notebook, because on our benchmark, we're not going to have this given to us. We need to recreate this. So we are practicing making that. So again, just as a reminder, introduction has the hook and central idea. Your main job in the introduction is to grab hold of your readers, grab their attention, and to, you're explaining, you're giving them that central idea. You're letting them know what this paper is going to be about. The body here, these yellow boxes, these are your reasons. So this prompt, hold on, I'm in the way again. This prompt here is about your school. So you're writing about your school and explaining why it's important to you. So you're going to put here a reason why school is important to you. So this is your first reason, your second reason, and if you have 3, remember you need 2 to 3. So if you have 2, then you don't need this third box. If you have 3, then go ahead and use all 3. So second reason, and then third reason why school is important to you. And so here you have your reason, but you can't just say school is important to me because I have a lot of fun. Another reason school's important to me is because my friends are here. Another reason, you can't just do this shopping list of reason after reason after reason. You have to give details. Okay. So we had a couple people sharing, and one of the things that brought up is that we're creating these lists, and we have to get rid of list. Okay, nobody wants to read. Like if you say, oh, my school's important to me because I have a lot of friends at my school. My friends' names are Jennifer and Jessica and Beverly, and you just start listing. Well, your reader's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so boring. Like, why are they telling me every name in the whole Fox Run school? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so bored. Okay, so lists are boring. We don't want lists. We want to say something and then explain it in detail. So, for example, somebody else said something and they were listing every science experiment that we've done. We've done this science experiment, that was so fun. We did this one and this one, and oh my gosh, this one. And it was a long list of all of these science labs. Well, that's great, but it doesn't really explain much of why that is important to you or why it's fun. Like, it doesn't really give those details. And so if you pick one and then talk about it, then that's more interesting. Or there's another example where they're talking about Fun Friday and they were listing the things like, oh, you can go to the animal cams and you can do this and you can do that and you can do that. Or talking about something fun we do is we do Flipgrid and we do coding, we do this and this and this. It's like, okay, pause, stop, pick one. So they picked Flipgrid. Now pretend like your reader is a complete dum dum, like, they absolutely have no information about this. Now your job is to explain to them, what does it mean when you say you have fun using Flipgrid? Or what does it mean when you have Fun Friday and you watch one of the animal cams? Like, what does that mean? Give the details. Okay, so we did some revising. It was way, way better. They were so much more interesting because those details were there. Okay. Then conclusion, again, transition, the author's feeling, main idea summarized, and end it with a hope or a wish. So those little things there, if you do that, that makes a nice complete um, conclusion. Okay. So we're doing pretty good at the top and the bottom. It's just this middle part. We got to make sure that we're not making a list. We're saying something like school's important to me, or my school's important to me because I learn a lot. Well, don't list all 5,000 things you've learned this year. Go ahead and list one and then tell them about it. Okay? Why was it important that you learned that? How does that, how's that going to help you, or whatever, just details. Alrighty, so we had lots of time to share and go over that. And then, so after they had worked on the writing, they went back to the Buzz Aldrin and went over that. And then we came back. We took some notes on. I'll just put them here since I forgot my notebook. All right, so we took some notes. So the first thing we did, we drew a balloon, and we said that in a balloon you've got the gas, and if we were to zoom in and look at it, it's kind of those particles are all spread out. They're moving around fast. They are kind of bouncing off each other. They're all over the place. And that was our gas. And then we drew a nice little fancy cup here to show that liquid will take the shape of whatever container it's in. And the liquid, these molecules are a lot closer together. Okay, so those are a lot closer together, so that's a liquid. And then our solid, let me see how I can do this on the computer. So solid, you've got the particles. All of these are super, super close together. I can't draw it super well, but they're all lined up. They're very rigid, and they are all packed in there very, very tightly. So when they move, they kind of just like kind of like vibrate a little bit. There's nowhere to go. And that's what gives solid its that definite shape. So when you take a gas and you want to turn it into a liquid, if you remember back to our water cycle unit, this is called condensation. Condensation. If you want to take a liquid and turn it into a gas, you have to heat it. This is the process called evaporation. Okay. If you want to take a liquid and turn it into a solid, then you have to remove that heat. And if you want to take a solid and turn it back into a liquid, you're going to go from freezing it to now melting it. Okay. So gas, not rigid, liquid, not rigid, solid, very, very rigid. So when we say rigid, we mean like I said, with these are just moving all over the place. They're going up, they're going down, they're just filling up that whole space of that balloon. Liquid, that liquid is moving around like you've seen like your drink, like my drink, that the liquid, if I tilt it, the liquid all kind of flows over to the side and so on. It's moving around freely, so it's not rigid, but it's still closely packed together. Like if I let the opening of the balloon, if I let the gas out, it would just all go everywhere in the room. It wouldn't stay close together. If I spill my drink, then it's going to flow out and it's going to spill out, but it's going to still stay kind of it's still going to stay together. And then solid, if I drop something that's a solid, like if I drop my computer or my book, it's going to hold together. It's very rigid. It's very tightly, those particles are very tightly packed. It's not going anywhere. Okay. So I'll show this tomorrow. Try to get this part. There was some more things that we put on the bottom that it's kind of hard to do on the computer. So I apologize, but I will get that. And then yesterday, yes, we can leave that. So let me draft this before I forget. So yesterday we watched a Brain Pop video on the properties of matter. So when you go into Launchpad, you'll see up in the top the notifications. There's one for brain, not for Brain Pop, for matter, and I want you to do the quiz part for today. So make sure the quiz you can't go back in and change your grade once you do it. So it's a one and done kind of thing. So really make sure if you didn't watch this video yesterday or take the notes, go back to yesterday's. We took notes on it and we watched the video yesterday. So if you didn't get to that, make sure you do it first, because if you don't get a very good grade on this, like that, you can't go back in and redo it. It's there's no it doesn't let you reopen it. And then after that, we did Tuesday's article in, apparently I've gotten out of Google Classroom. So go to Google Classroom, log in to your social studies and do that. And then the last thing we did, if you go here to this Flipgrid Science Lab, I told everybody that I wanted them to do this. Let me open up whiteboard again. So one of the things that we put in our science notebook that I wanted to show you but forgot, we made 3 boxes. So there's a before, there's a during, and an after. So you have to have an adult with you or have permission. Some of you said, oh, I use the stove. Well, you got to have an adult's permission. Okay, don't get me in trouble. And on the first one, okay, this is supposed to be a stove with your pan. Excuse my drawing. So that's your pan. I want you to fill your pan with ice cubes. Okay, these look like little tacos. They are ice cubes. Use your imagination. All right, fill the whole pan up. Ice cube, ice cube, ice cube. All right, so the whole pan is filled up with ice cube. You're going to take your Flipgrid. Where'd it go? You're going to take your Flipgrid. You're going to open it up, and you are going to record. And you're going to take your computer carefully without dropping it into your pan. And you're going to hold it up, and you're going to say, okay, here is my pan of ice. Right now, the ice is a solid, and I'm going to apply heat. And then you're going to push pause, okay? And then you're going to come back because something's going to happen in your pan. Something's going to happen after you have applied heat. So when you see it change, you're going to get your video back on. You're going to say, okay, everybody, here's what happened. And you're going to describe what you see in the pan now. Then you're going to continue to apply heat. And it may take a little bit. So you're going to continue to apply the heat, and then something else is going to happen to your pan. You're going to have another change, and you're going to describe what happened there. So you have before, when it's a solid, during, and then what happened at the very end after you applied all that heat. So again, please, please, please have an adult's permission. Make sure you run it by them with what you're doing, and record on that Flipgrid. I want to hear about solid, liquid, and gas. I want to hear about that applied heat. I want to hear you describe what you see, describe your talk about your observations and so on. And we're doing all of that in Flipgrid. So your link is right here, and you can go back and watch others once everybody's done. And let me check. I think we got everything. All right, that was it. The only other thing, we did a little bit of extra review at the end. I went over the CFA with people that were done. So I still have 4 people that still need to take it. So I don't want to go over it just yet on the video because I want them, they need to finish it. And so once they finish it, if you would like me to go over it, I can do that. And I think that's it. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Thanks.